I'm joined now by Kirsty Swan, who is an employment lawyer. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. We're a safe distance, of course. Just help us out. If you turn up for work tomorrow and your boss says, sorry, there's no work, where do you stand as an employee?
Well, it depends on whether they're saying there's no work, so we're dismissing you, or there's no work, so we want to put you on layoff or short-term working. Layoff is a bit like a redundancy whereby you're just sent home with no work and no pay. Short-time working is where you're doing less work and therefore receiving less salary. And it's usually, there's a statutory definition, but it's less than half a week's work and half a week's salary.
But a boss could tell you just to go home.
They could do. So in that respect, if it's just a case of go home, then there'll first and foremost be a breach of contract issue. If there's been a dismissal and the employee's got more than 2 years service, there's a potential unfair, a dismissal claim there. So they would need to take advice. But I think in the first instance, it would be finding out, well, what's happening? Are you dismissing me, or is this a temporary solution?
So you should know where you stand. You should actually ask for, what is going on here, I guess.
Absolutely, because even with layoff and short-time working, there needs to be a provision in the contract of employment. And if it's not, then the employer can't do it unless the employee gives consent.
Now, the government's announced a big financial boost to try and help businesses, and there are loans available. But do you know if any of these loans are conditional upon the company then not firing the staff?
Not that I've seen so far, but there is also an element of the size of the company with some of the loans that are available. So it's really we need a bit more information coming out at the moment. But there is panic mode, unfortunately, out there. I'm being contacted a lot with companies saying, well, what are we going to do with our staff? So,
and can companies tell you to take annual leave straight away?
Technically, they're supposed to give you notice to take annual leave, but they can, in theory, make you use some of your annual leave for it. So there's going to be a mix between using annual leave. Home working is being advised, I understand, at the moment. So if that can be put in place, that would be really practical. Otherwise, unpaid suspension.
Gosh, and if you go into, say you work for a bigger employer, perhaps a local council or something like that, and you go in and say, look, I want to work from home, is the employer obliged to let you?
Technically, no, but the government is putting or emphasising to employers that employees' welfare is really important. So it's thoroughly recommended that it's allowable. With working from home, there's factors to take into account, such as a health and safety risk assessment, data protection issues, and also what you're going to do in terms of equipment. So does the employee have their own computer and telephone they can use? Do you need to provide them with equipment? What's going to happen in terms of paying towards utility costs? So all of those are discussions to be had between the employer and the employee. On the other side, if there's a mobility clause in the contract, then it might be the case that an employer can force an employee to work from home. So it's very much going to be a case of having a discussion with your employer to find the best solution.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for coming in and seeing us tonight.